Here we have a factoring situation because we're being told that it's a factoring situation. And when you're factoring, you always want to try to find the GCF first, the greatest common factor. So our coefficients are 4, -44, and 96. They're all divisible by 4. And our x's, we have x to the third, x squared, and x. So they all have at least one x. So the greatest common factor for us is 4x. And when we divide our polynomial by that, we'll be left with x squared minus 11x plus 24. So now we have one factor out here, but what remains is a BC quadratic, because a quadratic is something that has x squared and it's in the format of ax squared plus bx plus c generally. So the thing to notice is that we have numbers in the b spot, the 11, -11, and in the c spot, the 24. So that is a BC quadratic. And when you're doing BC factoring, you're looking for two numbers that add to b and multiply to AC. I'm sorry, multiply to c. When they multiply to AC, that's ABC factoring, which we also have videos on. But if they add to B and multiply to C, that would be adding to -11 and multiplying to +24. So what numbers multiply to 24? Well, we can divide it by 1, we can divide it by 2, we can divide it by 3, we can divide it by 4, and so these are the combinations of numbers that multiply to 24, integers that multiply to 24. But now let's talk about the signs, because they multiply to a positive, which means they have the same sign. A positive times a positive or a negative times a negative, they're both going to multiply to a positive. And in addition, they add up to a negative. So out of these two numbers that are both the same sign, they both need to be negative. So now we've got our two numbers. They're both the same sign. They're both negative. They add to -11, multiply to 24. That's -3 and -8. So the BC quadratic here will factor to x minus 3, x minus 8, not to mention we had the 4x already. So one of the factors we're being told in the beginning of this question is in the format of x minus b. What is one of the values of b? Here we have x minus 3, x minus 8. So one of the values of b is 3. The other one is 8. And that's because the x minus part of it is already provided. And those are our two answers, 3 and 8.